Hello everyone, I am ESV.iakona. This is my first video log, so I'm just trying things out and see how it goes. So, for those who might not have heard of me, I am currently the support player for the team known as ESV Wildfire. We've been participating in pretty much every tournament that's been out there, like CS, HPL, MVI. We've been around. So I guess to get started off, a little bit more background just about me is I've been playing video games for as long as I remember, basically. Been playing. But I got into Heroes of the Storm Alpha back in April. I played a few games, thought it was kind of cool, but I actually didn't have time to play in the alpha until June or July. One of those. That I didn't really have much time to start playing until then. And when I did start playing again, I just couldn't put it down, and in around, I think it was end of July or early August, I joined what was known as Pickles team at the time, for the lack of better name. It's the same, when I joined, it's the same roster that we have currently, which is me, Iakona, Pickles, Wargreymon, Poom, and Bims. But at the time, we didn't actually have a name. We were just kind of known as Pickles Team. And since then, I saw a post by a guy named ESV Diamond that I actually played some solo queue games with. He was looking to start up a tournament as well as start up a team. So, flash forward to today, and we got picked up by him, and we've been playing under the, we have a name. He gave us a name. That was the big thing. He gave us a name, ESV Wildfire, and we've been playing under that for in the recent tournaments. The sad part is actually today, the game, or at least today as of when I'm recording this, the game shut down for maintenance for a week long. So it kind of sucks that we can't really play the game right now, but the good thing is what will happen when it comes out, because that means, first of all, they're releasing 2 new heroes, Asmodin and Anu Zabarak, something like that. I don't know. But those are the 2 that were demoed off in the PAX build. Well, the Chen was also there, but he's already been released. So it would be nice to have a couple new heroes added into the rotation. But the big thing is that they're adding custom games back in. And as a competitive player, it's been such a pain to have 2 teams queue up and be like, okay, everyone else, stop queuing, guys, stop. We need to get in our game. And then it's like, okay, the next group you guys can go, and then the third group you guys can go. And it was just a horrible mess, horrible pain to try to coordinate all of that, especially in the last week when there's been matches every day constantly. So that's going to be something that's really nice to have the custom games back in, as well as that means you're not rolling the dice with a random map. It means that you'll actually pick a map to play, which means drafting will be completely different than how it is right now, because you'll be drafting comps for the map, not just general comps that are good. The other thing is, with this, there will be a lot of shuffling around of teams coming in and coming out in this after this break, and it's be interesting to see who will still be there. Another thing is, if you guys have been following the scene at all, you'll notice that Wildfire hasn't been doing so well these past couple weeks. We've been going through a lot of revamping of internal strategies and stuff, and once custom games come out, we'll be really using that time to focus down on very specific things to help take our game to the next level and definitely be a top contender after that. And I guess since I'm a support player, or I play the support role for ESV Wildfire, so I thought I could give you guys a few comments about how I think support classes are right now, even though, take this with a grain of salt, because when the game comes back, who knows what will happen. Like, they could completely nerf or buff random heroes, which will make this not even make sense, but this would be as of the time I'm doing this. Right now, there's currently 6 support heroes. There's Uther, Brightwing, Malfurion, Rhaegar, Tassadar, and Tyrande. But 2 of them, Tyrande and Tassadar, I don't really consider true supports. Tassadar is more of an assassin right now, and eventually if they make a mage class, I'd put him under there. He does a lot of damage, and it's like he has a shield, and a healing ward, so I guess that makes him support, but he's not really in. Tyrande is kind of the same thing. She's a little bit, I would call her almost a specialist. That she has a heal, but the heal kind of sucks, and she just has some good damage and utility. So so for these rankings, I'm not really going to consider Tyrande and Tassadar in that, because usually teams will run one support, and that support would be one of these four, which would be Uther, Malfurion, Brightwing, and Rhaegar. Usually teams will pick one of those four. They could have more, they could have 2 or 3, but they'll have generally one of those. And then Tyrande and Tassadar are kind of different. So going over those 4, I think right now, even after the nerf to Uther removing Rewind, I still feel he is very strong because his heals are ridiculous in this game. At like level 20, your Q, Holy Light, is like 1,000 heal, which is ridiculous for a single target burst. Like the other heroes can't really come close to it. And he also has a W, which is like a AoE like line heal. His was it like Holy Radiance, I think, something like that. And it deals, I think it heals for like 400 or 500 at level 20 for each person on your team, which is just, those things are ridiculous. And then he has 2 stuns. Well, if you go Divine Storm, you have a second stun, but he's got 2 stuns as well, and one of them's an AoE with Divine Hurricane, the level 20 talent. Just makes it ridiculously strong. And also the fact that he gets Cleanse. I feel Cleanse is kind of underrated right now, and it makes a pretty big difference, in my opinion. It cancels out a lot of different people. So I say Uther right now is top. Next up, I would probably say is Rhaegar, actually, because first of all, he gets a healing ward, level 1, which is, healing ward I think is pretty strong right now. It was pretty good at 2%, but the fact that it heals for 3% per second makes it pretty ridiculous for your healing output. And him getting at level 1 sets up a lot of potential for these very early fights. Also the fact that he gets Bloodlust, which is ridiculous. Like, even if you don't have like a Tychus or like a Tassadar, Bloodlust can make a huge difference in a fight. Like, just the fact that your team can move around, like move faster, is huge. Like, it allows you to set up position to gank, to run away from a fight. You can actually keep chasing them. You can body block them easily. It sets up for huge potential, even if you're not using the attack speed buff. And his other ult, I don't remember, Ancestral Healing, I think, is also very strong. It's not, don't get me, it's not as good as Bloodlust, but Ancestral Healing is pretty strong for what it does, if you can land it right. And so I think he also has Farsight, which is basically Clairvoyance, that he can somewhat reliably pick up. And he has his level 7 talent. You can turn his Lightning Shield into an actual shield, which is pretty good. Like, so he'll have Chain Heal, which is kind of alright when you're pushing, like when you're with minions, but if you really can isolate it, so it's just you and your teammate, that it will just chain back and forth, that can actually make a chain heal pretty powerful. And then he's got a slow, he's got that lightning shield, which also can be spec'd into a shield itself, which is pretty strong. So he brings a lot of utility to the fight, but I would honestly say, like, he'd be a second, but a close third would be Malfurion, because once again, he has the healing ward, which I feel is pretty strong right now. And also the fact that, like, he has Tranquility as one of his ults, which is a healing one, but I actually think right now Eternal Dream, something like that, his Silence ult is actually in a very strong place and is pretty underrated by most people. If you just look at the pure damage on it, it's pretty ridiculous for what it does. It's one of the highest damaging ults in the game. And also the fact that it has a huge radius, that it's like a Divine Hurricane, like a level 20 Uther ult at level 10. Like, the radius is pretty ridiculous as well. And also the fact that Silence, it's the only Silence in the game right now. Illidan used to have one a while back, but they actually removed that. So as of right now, he is the only Silence in the game, which can make a huge difference when the enemy team has something like an Arthas, that he just ults with Army of the Dead and he silences him for 3 seconds and he dies. Like, that's There's other people as well. That was just one example. But silence, I feel, is very strong right now, and a lot of people underrate it. The only downside is that if you can actually be interrupted by it, and it has like a 1.5 second cast time. So if an enemy team is paying attention, they can probably interrupt it, but you just have to learn how to actually use it effectively. But so he has that, which I really like. He also, his Q doesn't really do much, but if you like, I guess it kind of does much over time. It's roughly equivalent to a Holy Light, I think, if you include all of the healing for the 10 seconds. If you spec it for the additional 6 seconds, like the healing actually becomes quite a large amount over time. But he has a healing ward, which is just good enough for it. Sometimes you can also go Tranquility for the even extra heal, but a lot of times, in order to actually heal your team, you have to position a little bit differently to get to the front line, which makes you pretty vulnerable, and teams will often jump on you and focus. So that's why Tranquility is kind of not really required, in Eternal Dream or whatever it's called is actually pretty strong alternative. And his he also has a root, Entangling Roots. It's a little bit harder of a skill shot to hit, but it's a longer stun. It's 1.5 seconds normally versus Uther's E, which is 1 second. So it has Uther's thing, like you're guaranteed to hit it, but Malfurion, Uther's is ranged and it's guaranteed, but Malfurion is Uther is melee and you're guaranteed to hit it. Malfurion is ranged and it's also AoE. It just takes a little bit getting used to. If you use the skill, I actually have 2 circles. There'll be like an outer circle and there'll be like an inner circle. Ideally, like, the thing is, you would think that the inner circle would instantly root, but that's actually not true. There's about a 0.5 second delay between casting it and someone getting rooted in the inner part of it, but overall I think it's very good. Even if you can't land the roots, it's a huge zoning spell which he brings to the table, and his W is like Moonfire. It doesn't seem like much, but it's a very short cooldown skill that has decent damage and can allow you to really take things out, like creep tumors, for example. It's very strong at killing creep tumors. That Zagara drops them and you use W. Later games it'll one-shot them, but early game it'll W, you reveal it, and then you auto-attack it since you're ranged, you just kill it. You can also spec Moonfire into a slow, which on a 3-second skill can be pretty good for chasing. You just keep slowing and slowing and slowing and slowing and slowing them till they die. He also, so I think he has he's pretty good. Like, his healing output in general isn't too high, but his silence and damage he brings can kind of make up for that, which is why I put him a little bit lower than Rhaegar, because Rhaegar they both have healing wards, so that kind of negates each other out. And then Rhaegar has Chain Heal, and Malfurion has, I don't even remember, Regrowth, I think. I don't remember what it's called, but that heal on Malfurion is a little bit stronger, but it takes a long time to wind up, so I kind of consider Chain Heal and that to mess each other out in a smaller skirmish fight or a burst fight. So they're kind of the same, and then they both, like, he has a shield on Lightning Shield, so that's really nice as well, because it also does damage. So that's why, and then his ultimate, Bloodlust, I think is just slightly better than the Silence, but that's why I just put him, like, just a tad above him. And then a little bit below there, kind of, I would put Brightwing. She's been hit by constant nerfs ever since she's been released, so she's just been going lower and lower and lower and lower and lower and lower down on the totem pole. And right now, the most recent nerf was making it so her, well, it's like regen wins or wins a change, something like that. It's a skill. Whenever it's a talent at level 7, whenever you use an ability, it would make your trait heal your team. They recently nerfed it to it only does 50%, but before that nerf, it used to work on all your skills, including your heroics, aka blink heal, which made it pretty good. So they took that away. It was still good, so they made it 50%, and it. Right now, it's actually at a point that you might not always go it, just because it doesn't actually heal for too much of the long run. Like on level 7, she's also got that cleanse, being the only other person in the game right now that has cleanse, and I think cleanse, like I was saying with Uther, cleanse is actually pretty good. And the other one is she has regen winds, I think it's called, where it activates her trait 4 times, once for 4 seconds, once every second. So it goes off 4 times, which can actually be pretty good. I just don't really like where she stands. Like her Q arcane shift, I think it's called, is completely garbage. Like you're never gonna. It's too long of a cast time and travel time. You're never really gonna hit that. And even if you do, the damage output isn't even that good. So it's decent for clearing mercenaries and minions, but that's about it. So that's like one skill just gone. She has 2 other skills. She has polymorph. Polymorph is actually really strong. It's 2-second CC. That makes it so that it's kind of functions like a silence basically. You just can't cast spells. And the other talent she has is Pixie Dust, which speeds up an ally, which is actually pretty good because you can also use it on yourself, and also blocks a couple auto attacks. So if you see, I think that's a kind of a higher skill cap to actually block auto attacks with that. But if you see, for example, like a Tychus or a Vala or something like that dive heavy on your carry, you can quickly drop that on there, allowing your carry to kite away, as well as taking a couple important auto attacks away, which might give them the edge. So I really like Pixie Dust, especially since Brightwing doesn't have a mount. So Pixie Dusting yourself can kind of make up for the fact that you don't actually have a mount. And her 2 heroics, she has Blink Heal and Emerald Wind. Blink Heal used to be the go-to talent just because it activated your trait at level 7, and it used to heal for a lot. Blink Heal still heals for a lot, but the main thing is that besides that, like, your healing output isn't too strong. I still kind of like Blink Heal, but the other one is Emerald Winds, which actually is pretty strong by itself. It pushes like a ring from you that expands outward and shoves everyone away, and its damage is actually decent. But the nice thing is it's a CC that like if you right next to Brightwing you get hit with it, it's a stun for like 2 or 3 seconds. And the really nice thing is that you can't even you can't even reduce it. Like there's a talent called Relentless at level 13 that reduces all CC by 50%. It doesn't work on Emerald Wind. So Emerald, like, it's really nice for having like a strong way to kill someone that's like that goes Relentless. Or it also can just mess around and like split up their team or things like that. That can also provide some chaotic. It's just that with Brightwing's healing getting nerfed so hard, it's if you're the only healer, I think you have to pick up Blink Heal just because of its heal potential, or because your lack of healing otherwise. But if you have another healer, I think Emerald Wind could be a good talent. But right now, I think Blink Heal is a better talent just because it kind of pushes out her healing. It's just the main thing is if you're jumping into someone that's in the front line, you have to be really careful because a lot of teams will just turn and stun you instantly, and then you're just stuck there and die. And it's like, what? Why'd you do that? And people are just gonna yell at you. So you got to be really careful when you're running Blink Heal, which is like so. Brightwing's healing's got nerfed a lot, and even Blink Heal, like it's very situational now, which is why I put her on the 4th one. But her healing used to be on par with Uther's like burst healing, but she's just been hit with the nerf bat so many times that she's just very far down in the totem pole. And the main reason that Rhaegar and Malfurion have an edge on her is because Healing Ward, or for Rhaegar, Healing Totem, is very strong right now. Which is also why, on a side note, Tassadar, who is classified as a support, but I don't really consider that, he's also pretty strong right now because he gets a Healing Ward, and that just makes him ridiculous, that healing. But that's kind of my ranking right now. Just to recap, I think Uther is very strong. He's got a lot of burst healing, a lot of CC to bring to the fight. I think Rhaegar's the next one, the second, who has Bloodlust, which provides just humongous like turnarounds for your team. It has a really long cooldown of 2 minutes, but it can be worth it. And he also provides some decent healing, but he has that healing totem. Malfurion, who's just a little bit below there, also has some good healing, stacked with that healing totem, and also silence is pretty strong right now, especially like when you have heroes that are so reliant on using spells, like Arthas or Sonya or Illidan, that it can kind of take those people out of the fight. And then below that you have Brightwing, who's just been nerfed, hit by so many nerfs that it's just kind of hard. It's just rough place right now for a Brightwing. She has that. Oh, I forgot to cover this. She has, instead of a mount, she has a teleport. I think it's called Phase Shift. That instead of using a mount, you hit your mount button, which is Z for me, and you click on a hero, allied hero, and you can teleport there. So it allows for some good global presence as she's teleporting around the map and helping with lanes, and she can split push and teleport back to your team. It provides some good synergy there when you compare it like a false dead fly or things like that. She's not out of it. I just think her healing's been hit too hard. The only thing keeping her up there right now is polymorph and her global presence. So that's kind of what I think about the supports right now in the game. Obviously, this could be subject to change as soon as the game's release. I imagine there's going to be some changes. Like I think Uther is going to get hit by a nerf, and they might buff Brightwing up slightly, or they might hit Healing Totem. Like, who knows what they'll actually do, but I think there'll be some changes to support, which will throw around my rankings in the meta right now. But that's it's kind of where I currently feel with the supports. It's also kind of all I have for this week. This is my first video log. I'm just trying it out and seeing how it goes. If you want to, in the comments, leave me some feedback, maybe things you think I should do differently or things to talk about, or just want to interact with me. I look forward to starting out more video logs and getting them out there. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you guys are having fun with Heroes of the Storm.